This week we will be reviewing square roots and the Pythagorean theorem. A lot of it we already discussed in class, but it is a review to go over and to ensure that you know the material. Okay, up here for your exercises this week in your packet, find the square root of the number, 9.1. So, square root. What is the square root of 49? What times what is the same number that will give you 49? If you need to, you can put in your calculator, you clear it, you put 49, and you'll hit the square root button. It will give you an answer of 7. As you can see, I did number 1 for you, 49. Square root of it is 7. Take your answer and circle. Now the second one says approximate the square root of to the nearest integer. So what times what gets you close to 23? Well, we know 4 times 4 is 16. 5 times 5 is 25. Well, this is the square root of 23, so it's got to be between 4 and 5. When we put it in the calculator, when you hit the square root button, 4.79 is your answer. We are rounding to the nearest integer. The answer, 5. The next part, use a calculator to approximate the square root. Round to the nearest tenth. Once again, put in your calculator 2, hit the square root button. You will get an answer of 1.41. We're rounding to the nearest tenth. When you round to the nearest tenth, your answer is 1.4. Now, 19 through 21. Evaluate the expression when a equals 36 and b equals 9. Most of algebra is substitution. You're going to take 36 and place it where the a is, and 9 and place it where the b is. Now you have the square root of 36 minus 9. What is 36 minus 9? 25. So what is the square root of 25? What times what is the same number that gives you 25? The answer is 5. You will complete the other two in the same fashion. If a negative is out in front, do not forget that. That is essential that you include the negative in your answer. Now for 22 through 27, solve the equation and round to the nearest tenth if necessary. So here we have x squared. As you know, most of algebra when we're solving it is using the inverse operation, which is the opposite. So we have here x squared. What is the opposite of x squared? We have the square root. So you take the square root, the square root. What is the square root of 36? What times what is the same number? The answer is 6. In your calculator, if you get lost, remember, you can put 36 and press the square root button. You will solve each one of these equations in the same fashion. When you get to 27, make sure you divide first by 4 and then do the square root of the answer you get. Now for problems 28, 29, and 30. Solve the equation and round to the nearest hundredth if necessary. What you're doing is just like your two-step equations. Right here you have x squared plus 4 equals 29. The first thing you do, we have to get rid of the plus 4. What is the inverse operation, the opposite of plus 4? We have minus 4. So you do minus 4 on each side. Mark out your 4's because 4 minus 4 is 0. Now we've moved that to the other side. 29 minus 4. What is 29 minus 4? 25. So now our equation is x squared equals 25. Now we see a square. Make sure you hit the square root button. What is, you put in your calculator, 25, and hit the square root button. And what is 25, the square root of 25? 5, because 5 times 5 is 25. You will solve 29 and 30 in the same fashion. Now for this, 31, 32, and 33. You are helping build a sandbox for a community park. You want the sandbox to be in the shape of a square. We know a square has what? All 4 sides are equal. And it has with an area of 30 square feet. You have boards that total a length of 24 feet to use as the sides. So over here I drew a diagram for you. We know we have a square. Each side is equal, and the entire area is 30 feet squared. How do you find the area of a square? Side times side, length times width. So now we know we have 30 equals s squared. How do we find what the answer for one side is? The square root of 30. So you'll put in your calculator 30 and hit the square root. Once you do that, you realize you get an answer of 5.47. We need to round it, so the closest is 5.5 feet. Now we know each side of this square is going to be 5.5 feet. Next question asks, how much perimeter? What is the perimeter for the entire square? How do you find perimeter? You're right. You have to add up all the sides. So once you add up all the sides, you'll receive an answer. Now, when you get that answer, you have to decide if you have enough boards. You have 24 feet as far as your board length. So you'll have to see if you'll have enough to be able to build this sandbox. Now we're going to go on to 9.3, the Pythagorean theorem. Today, the second part of your lesson will be 9.3, the Pythagorean theorem. You have to have a right triangle, and it measures the length of a side that's missing. So the first one, find the unknown length. Right here you see you have your A and you have your B. The longest side, which goes straight across from the right triangle, is called the hypotenuse. That has to be the longest side. So I already know that it has to be bigger than 8 because that is going to be the longest side. So we use the formula A squared plus B squared equals C squared to be able to find the length. I've already labeled it for you. The legs, which we went over in class, A equals 8 and B equals 6. It doesn't matter which way you do your A and B, you will get the same answer. But for all intents and purposes, I put 8 as A and 6 as B. Now you're going to substitute it in. My A is 8, so I have 8 squared plus my B right here is 6. 6 squared equals, and we do not know the length for C, so it's C squared. Now you solve. What's 8 times 8? 64. Bring down your plus. 6 times 6? 36. Equals C squared. Now what do you do with these two? You're right. Add 64 plus 36, which is 100, equals C squared. So what did we do previously? We're going to hit the square root, the opposite of squaring. So what is the square root of 100? What times what gives you the same, or that has the same number that gives you 100? The answer is 10. Remember, you put this in your calculator, 100, and hit the square root button. Now, over here for number 6, I wanted to write this out for you because this time we have a different measure that is missing. We have B, I've already labeled that, which is your 42. C, remember it's a hypotenuse. Now the answer cannot be bigger than 48. 48 is the biggest. So it's straight across the hypotenuse, and then you have your A. As you can see right there on the board, you have A squared plus B squared equals C squared. A, that's the unknown length, so we leave that as the variable A. Plus 42 squared, because 42 is your B, equals 48 squared. So now you're going to solve it just like the equations before. A squared plus 1,764 equals 2,304. What is the inverse operation of plus 1,764? You're right, minus. Minus 1,764 minus 1,764 on each side. Bring it down. Now you have A squared equals 540. Now what you're going to do is hit the square root. The square root of 540, you will get 23. As you can see, there are some numbers past it, but we are going for the nearest whole number. 23 will be your answer. Now, on the next section, 7 through 12, determine whether the triangle, which with the given side lengths, is a right triangle. As you know, everything has to match. So we have a 3, a 5, and a 6. So we're going to plug it in the formula. We know 3 is going to be our A, 5 is going to be our B, and 6 is our C because that's the longest side. So here we plug it in the formula. A squared plus B squared equals C squared. 3 times 3, 9. 5 times 5, 25. 6 times 6, 36. 9 plus 25. What's 9 plus 25? 34. We have the 36. 34 does not equal 36, so this cannot be a right triangle. Now for the next section, 13 through 18. The lengths of the two sides of a right triangle are given. Find the length of the third side. It's the same thing as you did in problem number 6. Right here you have an A and you have the C given. So we plug it into the formula. You have 20 squared plus B squared equals 29 squared. What is 20 times 20? 400. Plus B squared equals 29 times 29 is 841. Now we have to get b squared by itself. We have to get rid of the 400 and move it to the other side. What is the opposite of a positive 400? Minus 400. Minus 400. Now you subtract 841 minus 400. Now your equation is b squared equals 441. When you hit the square root, what do you get? You get an answer of 21. So here on the side, you will write b equals 21. Circle your answer. And you will complete the same all the way through 18. Number 19, story problem. Most of the time when they give you this, you will see it's either a tree or a building with a ladder, which is displayed in this question. A ladder that is 12 feet long is placed against the wall. You see the picture here. The bottom of the ladder is 4 feet from the wall, which you see right there. How far up does the wall does the ladder reach? So we have to figure out how far up here it's going to reach. I have labeled the sides for you to make it a little easier. As you can see, the building creates a right triangle, which is 90 degrees. So we know we can use a squared plus b squared equals c squared. So right here, you're going to plug it into the formula. I want you to attempt this on your own. I've labeled it for you. Here is the formula. Here is your a, which you do not know. Your b is 4, and your c, the hypotenuse, is 12. Now I know my answer cannot be more than 12, so be careful when you come up to that. And your final problem down here, a sheet of paper is 8.5 inches by 11 inches. How long is the diagonal of the paper? Round your answer to the nearest tenth of an inch. So you know this is a right triangle. You see the sheet of paper, and you see right here you have a length of 11 and you have a width of 8.5 inches. So label your a and b. You notice it's already a right triangle. So what theorem will you be able to use? A squared plus b squared equals c squared. Have fun. I will see you this week, Monday, and my shout out is to Michaela and Colin. Bye.